So what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is most likely there is something there, and most likely maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today, who are white Caucasian people, came in a little bit later on. We know that some of the greatest sages of the transmission of the Torah were converts from Rome. You have a man named Onkelos who wrote a commentary on the Torah, unprecedented, that we still learn today. He was a convert. Some of the largest pillars on the transmission today were Roman converts. So here we are, we're Caucasian Jewish people, and now you have people in Africa saying that they're the real people of Israel. It can't be ruled out at all. We know they were sold into slavery. We know now that they're fulfilling prophecies by saying, we're coming back.
Sub-Saharan West Africa is an interesting place, especially a little place called the Slave Coast, in which the slave trade is called Negro Land. As you can see, the area of the Slave Coast was called Wahida. And if you look right above it, in English are the words Kingdom of Judah. This is the port where the so-called African or Negro American was taken, also to the British Islands, South America, and Europe. This area was called Kingdom of Judah. Well, maybe they just called it that, like a nickname or something. But actual Hebrews didn't live there. Well, let's take a look. This is from Press and Bulletin's magazine. Language dot from the Society of Geography. Wahida, also called Fida, Huida, Uida, Judah or Judah, is an ancient city frequented since the 16th century by Portuguese slave traders who gave it its name. Its inhabitants were said were Judaic and were viewed as the remnant of the scattered tribes of Israel. This quote is from Creole New Orleans, Race and Americanization by Arnold R. Hirsch and Joseph Logston. Between June 1719 and January 1731, 16 slave trading ships arrived in Louisiana from the Senegal region. 6 ships came from Judah, Wida, a slave trading post. Between February 1726 and January 1731, 12 slave ships from Senegal landed. 3,259 slaves at Belize at the mouth of the Mississippi River. During the same period, 1 ship from Judah landed 464 slaves at the same port. The African slaves brought to the Chesapeake during the 18th century came mainly from the Bight of Biafra and were heavily Igbo. Here's a couple more quotes from The Earth and Its Inhabitants, the Universal Geography. East of the Great Popo begins the Dahomey territory, guarded by the important town of Gluia, known to Europeans by various names, Fida, Avida, Waida, Ouida. The old writers called it Judah, and its inhabitants were said to be the Jews. During the flourishing days of the slave trade from 16 to 18,000 were annually transported from Judah, as the Portuguese called this place, which at that time had a population of 35,000. Part of the local trade is in the hands of the Mabumbas, a people of grave and solemn aspect with intelligent eyes, straight or even eloquent nose, whose pronounced Semitic type have earned them the Portuguese designation of Judos Pretos, or Black Jew. I don't know how much more proof you need, but I'm going to give you some more. Who by chance financed and organized these Portuguese slave traders who discovered the Kingdom of Judah on the slave coast? Meet Aaron Lopez, born Duarte Lopez. He was a Jewish Portuguese slave trader. Through his very commercial ventures, he became the wealthiest person in Newport, Rhode Island, in British America in 1661 and 1762. Lopez expanded his trade beyond the North American coastline by 1757. He had major interest in the West Indian slave trade. He also sent ships to Europe and the Canary Islands between 1761 and 1774. As we established earlier, it was the Murano Jews who controlled the slave trade, which some were Portuguese and Dutch. It was written on their maps that the slave coast was actually the Judeans of Israel, or Yehuda. So that was some info about the sub-Saharan Africans, right? This is a quote from Stephen Jacobs, European Jewish historian. from his book, The Hebrew Heritage of Black Africa, fully documented. Black Americans are now in a position as never before in modern history to rediscover and reclaim, if they wish, a heritage which has profoundly influenced world history and mankind, the Hebrew heritage of Black Africa. So since we've established, without dispute, that not only did the true Israelites flee into sub-Saharan Africa, but that the scripture also agrees that the dispersed of Israel are beyond the rivers of Cush, and from there were transported as slaves into every nation, not for the first time, but actually the third time around. The first time and the second times were in the known world, the third time into the new world. And seeing that it was by the witness of two or three that every word is established according to scripture, that would be right on the nose.